So picture this, you're watching Spaceballs for the first time, and suddenly, this beaten-up Winnebago appears on screen, complete with wings and rocket boosters, flying through space like it's the most normal thing in the universe. That's the Eagle 5, and it might just be the most ridiculous spacecraft in movie history. But here's the thing, there's way more to this flying RV than you probably realized. Today we're counting down 20 weird facts about Lone Star's Eagle 5 Winnebago that'll make you appreciate just how insane this movie prop really was. And trust me, some of these details are absolutely bonkers. Hit that like button if you remember this beauty, and let's jump into it. Number 20. It's modeled after a Winnebago Chieftain. The Eagle 5 wasn't just any random RV they slapped some wings on. No, they specifically chose a 1986 Winnebago Chieftain as their base vehicle. And there's a reason for that. The Chieftain was already one of the most recognizable motorhomes of the 80s. It had that classic boxy look that screamed American road trip. But here's what makes it weird. The production team barely modified the actual RV body itself. They wanted people to immediately recognize it as a regular motorhome. The joke only works if you can tell it's supposed to be someone's vacation vehicle flying through space. Mel Brooks himself insisted on keeping as much of the original Winnebago aesthetic as possible. They even left the wood grain paneling visible in some shots. Think about that for a second. Wood grain in space. The prop department initially wanted to paint the whole thing silver to make it more spacey, but Brooks shut that down immediately. He wanted it to look exactly like something your uncle would drive to Yellowstone, except with the ability to jump to hyperspace. The specific model they used was 32 feet long, which made it an absolute nightmare to maneuver on set. The crew had to remove entire walls of the soundstage just to get it inside. And get this, they actually bought 3 identical Winnebagos for the production. One for the exterior shots, one for the interior work, and one as a backup that ended up being used for parts. Number 19. The film turned a real 1980s motorhome into a sci-fi smuggler's ship with minimal CGI. This is where things get really interesting. In 1987, CGI was basically non-existent for most movies. Everything had to be practical. So how do you turn a motorhome into a spaceship? Well, you do it the old-fashioned way, with plywood, fiberglass, and a whole lot of creativity. The transformation took 6 weeks and a team of 25 people. They literally bolted everything onto the existing RV frame. No green screens, no digital additions, just pure practical effects madness. The special effects team, led by Peter Donen, had previously worked on films like Blade Runner and Star Trek, but they said the Eagle 5 was their most challenging build because they had to make something intentionally bad look professionally made. It's harder than you think to make something look cheap on purpose while still being safe for actors to work in. They used over 200 pounds of additional fiberglass just for the cosmetic additions. The wings alone weighed 300 pounds each. The entire vehicle, when fully dressed for filming, weighed nearly 15,000 pounds. That's 7.5 tons of comedy gold rolling around the set. And here's a detail nobody talks about. They had to reinforce the entire chassis because the original Winnebago frame couldn't support all the additions. They essentially built a steel exoskeleton around the RV to hold everything together. Number 18, it uses rocket Winnebago boosters. Okay, this is where the parody gets brilliant. The boosters on the Eagle 5 are literally labeled Rocket Winnebago in several shots. But here's what's crazy, those weren't just painted on tubes. They were functional flame units. Not for propulsion, obviously, but they could shoot real fire for effect shots. The prop department built them using modified propane tanks and industrial heating elements. During filming, they could produce 30-foot flame jets on command. The insurance company had an absolute fit when they found out. The boosters were designed to look like someone welded trash cans to the back of an RV and called it a day, which honestly isn't far from the truth. The metal shells were actually repurposed industrial ventilation tubes from a demolished factory in Van Nuys. Each booster had its own operator hiding inside the vehicle during filming. These poor guys had to sit in what was essentially a metal coffin filled with propane lines and electrical equipment. The temperature inside would reach over 100 degrees during extended shooting. One of the operators, Jim Henderson, later said it was the worst job he'd ever had on a film set. But the visual gag was worth it. When those boosters fire up in the movie, it looks exactly like what would happen if your neighbor Jerry decided to make his RV space-worthy using parts from Home Depot. Number 17. The nose is a full spaceship cockpit. The front end of the Eagle 5 is a masterpiece of intentional stupidity. they built an entirely custom fiberglass nose cone that extended the RV by 8 feet. But here's the weird part. The cockpit windows are actually functional. You can see through them. The production team installed real aviation-grade plexiglass because they needed to film through them for several shots. The merge between RV and spaceship is seamless from a distance, but up close, you can see where they literally just glued sci-fi parts onto motorhome body panels. The cockpit seats were salvaged from a decommissioned Boeing 727. Bill Pullman and John Candy spent hours sitting in actual airline pilot chairs that had logged millions of miles before, ending up in a parody spaceship. The control panel is a mix of real RV dashboard components and random electronics from a surplus store. There's a label maker label that says Hyperjets next to what's clearly a kitchen timer. Another switch labeled Turbo is actually the hazard light button from the original Winnebago. They kept the original steering wheel but added a bunch of unnecessary handles and grips to make it look more spacey. The windshield wipers are still there, and functional, because apparently you need those in space. The entire nose section could be removed for interior shooting, which happened exactly once before they realized it took 12 hours to reattach properly. Number 16. The wings were non-functional props. The wings on the Eagle 5 are comedy gold, but the story behind them is even better. Each wing measured 18 feet across and was made entirely of wood and foam. They were designed by a guy who'd never worked on a movie before. He was actually a parade float designer from Pasadena. The wings had no moving parts whatsoever. They couldn't even fold. This created a massive problem because the fully assembled Eagle 5 was too wide to fit through the studio gates. They had to remove the wings every single time they moved the vehicle. Each removal and reattachment took 3 hours. The mounting system was literally industrial-strength Velcro and steel bolts. The Velcro alone cost $8,000. During one scene, a wing fell off mid-take when John Candy leaned against it. They kept filming and actually used the footage for a deleted scene where the ship is falling apart. The wings were painted with regular house paint from Sears. The production designer specifically wanted them to look like a high school theater production. Inside each wing were Christmas lights that would blink in sequence to simulate engine power. The wiring for these lights caught fire twice during production. By the end of filming, the wings were held together mostly by duct tape and prayer. They had to be completely rebuilt for each day of shooting. Number 15. It has a giant radar dish on top. That radar dish is one of the most recognizable features of the Eagle 5, and it's completely ridiculous. The dish is actually a repurposed satellite TV antenna from the 70s. They bought it from a junkyard for $50. It doesn't rotate in the film because the motor was broken when they bought it. They tried to fix it, but Mel Brooks liked that it was broken. He said it added to the piece of junk aesthetic. The dish is held on with exactly 4 bolts and about 2 gallons of industrial adhesive. During highway transport between locations, it would wobble so violently that other drivers would call the police to report an unsafe vehicle. The police pulled over the Eagle 5 transport convoy 6 times during production. Inside the dish, the prop team hid a smoke machine for one scene that never made it into the film. The smoke machine is still in there to this day, wherever the prop ended up. Speaking of which, the dish had to be removed every time they went under a bridge. They forgot once and sheared the entire thing off on an overpass. The replacement dish was actually a kiddie pool spray painted silver. You can tell the difference if you know which scenes were shot later in production. The dish supposedly picks up space radar, but in one scene, you can clearly see a DirecTV logo that they forgot to paint over. Number 14. The interior was shot on sets. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Almost none of the interior scenes were actually shot inside the RV. The inside of a real Winnebago is cramped, really cramped. You can't fit cameras, lights, and actors in there. So they built the entire interior on a soundstage, 3 times larger than the actual RV interior would be. The set was modular, meaning walls could be removed for different camera angles. The ceiling was actually 20 feet high to accommodate lighting rigs. John Candy could barely fit in the real RV, but on set, he had plenty of room to move around. The set decorators went to 3 different RV dealerships to study real Winnebago interiors. They bought actual Winnebago furniture and fixtures, then scaled them up for the set. The famous scene where they go to ludicrous speed was shot on a gimbal that could shake the entire set. That gimbal was borrowed from the Star Trek production next door. They returned it broken. The interior set cost more to build than buying 10 actual Winnebagos would have. But here's the kicker. For one scene, they did shoot in the real RV. It was so miserable that Bill Pullman refused to do it again. they had to rewrite 3 scenes to avoid going back inside the actual vehicle. The set version had air conditioning. The real RV didn't. In the middle of summer, in the desert. Number 13. Lone Starr's pilot chair resembles an airliner seat. Bill Pullman's pilot seat has an incredible backstory. It's an actual first-class seat from a Pan Am 747 that crashed in the 70s. Nobody was hurt, but the plane was scrapped. The seat still had the original leather, complete with burn marks from the crash. The production bought 6 of these seats from an aircraft salvage yard in Arizona. They drove them back to Los Angeles in, you guessed it, a Winnebago. The seat's controls are a mix of real aviation switches and garage door openers. That throttle lever Lone Starr pushes, it's from a forklift. The seatbelt is an actual 5-point aviation harness, but they removed 3 of the points because it took too long to buckle between takes. There's a cup holder that was added as a joke, but Pullman actually used it constantly. He spilled coffee on the controls 4 times during shooting. The seat could swivel 360 degrees, but the mechanism broke on day 2. They wedged a broom handle in the base to keep it facing forward. Under the seat, there's a compartment that was supposed to hold Lone Starr's weapons. They forgot to ever show it in the film. The headrest had built-in speakers that played engine noise to help Pullman react to the flying scenes. Those speakers are now in someone's home theater somewhere in Burbank. Number 12. Barf's bunk area was added for comedy. John Candy's sleeping area wasn't in the original script. They added it because Candy improvised a joke about needing a nap during rehearsal. The bunk is physically impossible in a real Winnebago's layout. It's where the bathroom should be. They removed the entire bathroom to make room for the comedy bunk. The mattress is from an actual RV, but they had to custom order an extra wide version for Candy. It took 6 weeks to arrive, so they shot around it using foam padding. The bunk has a mini fridge that's fully stocked with real food. Candy would actually eat from it between takes. By day 3, the smell was unbearable. The ladder to the bunk is made of PVC pipe painted to look like metal. It broke twice under Candy's weight. The privacy curtain is made from the same material as the original Star Trek uniforms. The wardrobe department had leftover fabric from a canceled sci-fi show. There's a poster on the bunk wall that's barely visible. It's actually a picture of Mel Brooks' mother. Inside the bunk, there's graffiti that John Candy wrote when he was bored. It says Mog was here, with a little drawing of his character. That section of the set was preserved and is now in a private collection. The bunk scenes took the longest to shoot, because Candy kept improvising jokes that made the crew laugh and ruin takes. Number 11. The ship parks like a real RV. The landing sequences are comedy genius because they treated the Eagle 5 exactly like a regular RV. They used actual RV leveling blocks in one scene. You can see them for a split second. The landing gear is literally just the RV's regular wheels with some spray-painted cardboard around them. When it lands, they use the real RV's parking brake. You can hear it engage in one scene. They shot the desert landing scenes at an actual RV campground. Other RVers kept wandering into shots. The landing dust was created by driving the RV in circles for 20 minutes before filming. The local environmental agency fined them for the dust clouds. In one scene, you can see the Eagle 5 sewage hookup port. It's right there on screen. They forgot to cover it. The ship's stabilizers are actually the RV's built-in leveling jacks. They just added some LED lights. The parking scenes were shot in one take because moving the fully decorated RV was a nightmare. It got 2 miles per gallon with all the additions. They had to refuel it every 30 minutes of driving. The space brake sound effect is actually a school bus brake recorded in Brooklyn. When parked, the Eagle 5 would sink into soft ground because of its weight. They lost 2 hours of all shooting time trying to dig it out of sand. Number 10. It features mismatched tech panels. The dashboard of the Eagle 5 is absolute chaos, and every single button has a story. There's a speak and spell wired into the navigation system. It still works, or worked. Nobody knows what happened to it. The main control panel has 47 different types of switches from 22 different sources. There's a button from a 70s microwave, toggle switches from a model train set, and the entire control panel from a dishwasher. One section is just a light bright with no pegs. They lost the pegs on day 1 and never replaced them. The radar screen is an old Commodore 64 monitor displaying a screensaver. The computer crashed constantly, so most scenes show a blue error screen. There's a label maker label for everything, but half of them are jokes. One says do not push, and it's the only button that actually does something. It turns on the air conditioning. The speedometer goes up to ludicrous speed, obviously, but it's actually a modified tachometer from a powerboat. The fuel gauge is from a 1957 Chevy. It's the oldest component on the entire ship. 3 switches are wired to nothing. They're just there for actors to flip dramatically. One panel is a complete Atari 2600 controller embedded in the dashboard. In one scene, you can see it's still connected to a console hidden under the dash. The self-destruct button is a garage door opener painted red. It actually opened the studio's loading dock door when pressed. Number 9, the hyperdrive is intentionally low budget. The ludicrous speed system is peak. Mel Brooks humor. The entire hyperdrive mechanism is made from washing machine parts, specifically from a broken Maytag that was in the prop warehouse. The spinning drum effect is literally a dryer drum with Christmas lights inside. They spun it with a power drill attached to the back. The drill burned out 3 times during filming. The hyperdrive coolant tubes are aquarium pumps filled with colored water. The blue liquid is Windex. The red liquid is Hawaiian Punch. They had to refill them every day because the tubes leaked. The main hyperdrive lever is a beer tap from a local bar. The bar wanted it back after filming, but they'd welded it in place. The gauges showing hyperdrive power are actually tire pressure gauges. They're not connected to anything. The actors just push them up manually. There's a hyperdrive manual visible in one shot. It's actually a Winnebago owner's manual with a new cover. The emergency backup hyperdrive is a Nintendo Power Glove painted silver. This was before the Power Glove was released, so they had a prototype. The cooling vents are hair dryers bolted to the wall. In one scene, they accidentally turned one on and it blew papers everywhere. They kept it in the film. The hyperdrive makes a specific sound. It's a blender mixed with a cat's purr, slowed down 800%. Number 8, it carries no visible weapons. This is genuinely unusual for a sci-fi hero ship. The Eagle 5 has absolutely no weapons. None. 0. This was intentional. Mel Brooks wanted to emphasize that Lone Star wins through cleverness, not firepower. But the prop team actually built weapons that were cut from the film. They were supposed to be laser cannons that pop out of the wings. They spent $30,000 building them. Brooks cut them after seeing them once. He said they looked too cool for the ship. The cannons were later reused in a Power Rangers episode. There's a deleted scene where Barf mentions the weapons don't work. This was added because test audiences kept asking why they didn't shoot back. The script originally had a missile launcher in the radar dish. They built it, but it looked too much like actual military hardware. The Air Force advisor on set made them remove it. You can see mounting points on the model where weapons were supposed to go. They're painted over but visible in HD remasters. The toy version of the Eagle 5 has weapons. This confused kids who saw the movie and wondered where they were. The lack of weapons created a plot hole they had to fix in editing. There's an added line about offensive capabilities that makes no sense in context. The only weapon is the ship itself when they ram things. The reinforced front bumper is from an actual military vehicle. Number 7. The exterior decals are authentic RV graphics. Every single decal and stripe on the Eagle 5 is real Winnebago merchandise. The production bought them directly from Winnebago corporate. Winnebago charged them retail price, no discount for the movie production. The famous brown and orange stripes cost $1,200. 4 stickers. The Winnebago logo appears 17 times on the vehicle. Legal made them count. Each appearance required a separate licensing agreement. The Chieftain badge is in every exterior shot. It's literally the only thing they were contractually required to keep visible. There's a Good Sam Club sticker on the back bumper. The assistant director's parents were members. The license plate frame says, "I'd rather be camping." This wasn't a joke, it came with the RV. One decal says, "This vehicle climbs Pikes Peak." The RV had never been to Colorado. There's a faded Reagan Bush 84 sticker they tried to remove but gave up. You can see it in one scene. The racing stripes were added by the previous owner. They tried to color match them for the other RVs but couldn't. Each vehicle has slightly different stripes. The wide load sticker on the back is legally required, not a joke, though it works as one. There's a mysterious decal in German that nobody could translate. It's still there in the film. Number 6. The ship's scale model was heavily simplified. The miniature Eagle 5 used for space shots is hilariously basic compared to the full-size version. It's only 4 feet long. A college student built it in his dorm room for $3,000. The model is made primarily of balsa wood and model airplane parts. It took 2 weeks to build. The wings don't match the full-size version at all. They're from an X-Wing model kit. The radar dish is a pie tin, a literal pie tin from Marie calendars. You can see the logo in some shots. The model's windows are stickers, not even good stickers. They're crooked in several scenes. The rocket boosters are toilet paper tubes wrapped in aluminum foil. This is visible in the HD remaster. They made 6 models total. 5 were destroyed during filming. The surviving model sold at auction for $75,000 in 2018. The model couldn't support its own weight. It was held up by fishing line in every shot. You can see the wires in the original theatrical release. They were painted out for the DVD. The person who operated the model had never done special effects before. He was the director's nephew. The model's paint job was done with spray cans in a parking lot. You can see the overspray and drips in close-ups. During the chase scenes, they literally threw the model past the camera. They caught it with a mattress off screen. Number 5, its name Eagle 5 spoofs military call signs. The name Eagle 5 sounds official, but it's a multi-layered joke most people miss. It's a direct parody of Luke Skywalker's Red 5 call sign. But Eagle references the Apollo 11 lunar module, so it's a space reference that actually makes sense. The 5 has no meaning whatsoever. Mel Brooks picked it because it sounded good. In the script, it was originally Eagle 1, but that sounded too cool. They considered Eagle 47 as a really obvious random number. Bill Pullman suggested Eagle and a half, but was shot down. On set, the crew called it the chicken number because eagles are just fancy chickens. There's paperwork visible in one scene showing the ship's registration as EGL-5. The font is Comic Sans, which didn't exist yet. It's actually very similar hand lettering. The military advisor said no actual military would use Eagle 5. It's too informal. That's exactly why Brooks kept it. In the merchandising, they accidentally printed Eagle S on some items. The S looked like a 5 in the font they used. These misprints are now worth hundreds of dollars. John Candy ad-libbed Eagle 5 to Big Eagle in one scene. Big Eagle was Brooks's nickname on set. The name appears in graffiti in a truck stop bathroom in Arizona. The movie had just come out, and fans were already making references. Number 4. The landing gear is just the RV's real wheels. This is maybe the best practical joke in the whole movie. When the Eagle 5 lands, those are just the regular RV tires. No sci-fi additions, no special effects, just regular Goodyear radials from Sears. They didn't even clean them. There's mud from the RV dealership visible in one landing scene. The tire pressure was a constant problem. The extra weight meant they had to inflate them to dangerous levels. They blew out 6 tires during production. The wheel covers are from a 1979 Cadillac. They found them in a junkyard for $20 total. In one scene, you can see the Cadillac logo they forgot to remove. The landing sequence uses the RV's actual suspension. You can hear it creaking in the audio. They enhance the creaking in post-production to make it funnier. The wheels never retract because that would have cost $50,000 to rig. Instead, they just pretend they're always down. There's a scene where they check the landing gear. It's just John Candy kicking a tire like he's at a used car lot. The tire pressure monitoring system is visible in the cockpit. It's a standard RV feature they left in. One wheel has a different hubcap because they lost the original. It's from a Toyota Corolla. The spare tire is mounted on the back, still in its Winnebago cover. They painted spare on it in case anyone wondered. Number 3, the bathroom was never shown because it didn't exist. Here's a production secret. They completely removed the RV's bathroom to make room for equipment, but this created a problem. RVs are famous for their bathrooms. It's like the main selling point. So they had to write around it. There's a deleted line where Barf mentions the bathroom is broken. It was cut because it raised more questions. The bathroom door is visible in one scene. It opens to a brick wall. They hoped nobody would notice. People noticed. The actors had to use the studio bathrooms, which were a 5-minute walk in full costume. John Candy held the production up multiple times for bathroom breaks. There's a scene where Lone Starr appears to be coming from the bathroom. He's actually coming from craft services. The toilet sound effects in one scene were recorded in Mel Brooks' house. His wife was not happy. The missing bathroom created continuity errors they couldn't fix. Characters reference washing up, but there's no sink. The production designer wanted to add a space toilet as a joke. Brooks said it was too lowbrow. This is the man who made Blazing Saddles. The bathroom space became storage for John Candy's snacks. By week 3, it was completely full of craft services overflow. The insurance company required a bathroom on set. They put a porta potty inside the RV for one day to pass inspection. Number 2, most onboard sounds were recycled sci-fi effects. The sound design of the Eagle 5 is stolen from everywhere. The engine noise is from Star Trek. Specifically, the Enterprise's impulse engine slowed down 50%. The door sounds are from Alien. They literally called up Fox and asked to borrow them. The computer beeps are from a Pac-Man arcade machine. They recorded them at a pizza place in Burbank. The hyperdrive warming up is a coffee maker percolating, mixed with a jet engine. The alert klaxon is from a Soviet submarine movie. Nobody knows which one. They found it in the sound library labeled Russian something. The cockpit ambience is an air conditioner from the editing room. They liked how it sounded and kept it. One sound effect is Mel Brooks humming into a paper towel tube. It's the communication system static. The landing gear sound is a garage door opening, played backwards and slowed down. John Candy's chair squeak is enhanced with a swing set recording. Every button push is the same sound, just pitched differently. It's a typewriter key from a 1942 Royal. The radar ping is a spoon hitting a coffee mug. They tried 17 different mugs to get the right pitch. The windshield wipers make a lightsaber sound for one frame. This was an editing mistake they kept. Number 1. The real RV was scrapped after production. This is the saddest fact about the Eagle 5. After filming Wrapped, nobody wanted to pay to store it. The fully decorated Eagle 5 sat in the studio parking lot for 3 months. People would take photos with it. Security had to chase away fans constantly. Eventually, the studio ordered it removed. The wings and decorations were stripped off and thrown in a dumpster. Some crew members grabbed pieces as souvenirs. The radar dish ended up in someone's backyard in Encino. The stripped RV was sold to a dealer in Bakersfield for $2,000. The dealer had no idea it was from Spaceballs. He sold it to a family from Oregon for $8,500. They used it for camping for 5 years before the engine died. It was scrapped in 1993 at a junkyard in Portland. The crusher operator mentioned it had weird mounting points all over it. He had no idea what he was destroying. The miniature model survived and tours with sci-fi conventions, but the real Eagle 5 is gone forever. There are only 43 photos of the complete vehicle in existence. Fans have tried to recreate it, but nobody has all the details correct. Bill Pullman kept his pilot's seat. It's in his garage in Montana. John Candy's family has a piece of the wing. It's mounted in their rec room. The hyperdrive lever beer tap was returned to the bar. They still use it, though the handle is different now. And there you have it. 20 absolutely insane facts about the Eagle 5 that prove sometimes the best spacecraft in movie history is just a Winnebago with delusions of grandeur. The fact that this ridiculous RV has become such an iconic sci-fi vehicle just shows the genius of Mel Brooks and his team. Which of these facts surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Spaceballs history, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for more bizarre movie facts and behind-the-scenes stories. Until next time, may the Schwartz be with you.